Let's talk to Nick Smith-Patel about this from the financial education charity MyBnk, which I suppose you pronounce MyBank. I don't know. Hello, Nick. Morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. How do you pronounce it?
It is MyBnk, yes.
And you spell it MyBnk.
That's right, yeah.
All right. Tell me about being ripped off. Do you think it's just part of life that sometimes you find yourself in the cinema buying an enormously expensive bag of Doritos, or you find yourself having to park at the hospital, you've got no choice and it's terribly expensive, there's nothing you can do? Is that just part of modern living?
I don't think it's part of modern living. I think it's been part of living for a long, long time. The idea of a captive audience isn't relatively new. So if you go to a place where your only option is to buy their food, their drink, their facilities, of course, that gives them license essentially to put the prices up because you haven't got any other choice. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a new idea, but I think it's something that people have come to accept almost until a tipping point comes where we find it's unaffordable. And then we start to worry about, can we afford the base activity, let alone all the other things that go with it.
Tell me about the fact that in the old days, whenever that was, people used to be much more canny about money, much more frugal, and you'd see people on the beach. In fact, everybody, it seemed to me, on the beach with their greaseproof paper sandwiches and their flask of drink from home. And, nobody would, and children would be told in advance, don't you dare bother your dad asking for an ice cream. You're definitely not having one. Have you seen the prices? You wouldn't even ask. I don't know when the old days was, days of yore, when we were all growing up. I mean, I don't know if there ever really was such a time, but it felt like it to me anyway.
Well, the other thing we have to think about is means. So if you have more cash available, you spend more. If you see other people spending more, social media, that kind of stuff,
right,
you then feel inclined to spend more to keep up. So it's a kind of keeping up with the Joneses things that happen. And if you think about being on the beach, if everyone on the beach doesn't have an ice cream cone, then little Johnny doesn't ask for one. If everybody on the beach has an ice cream cone, Johnny really wants one now. So there is a part of that. I think social media has a lot to do with that, actually, people showing off their purchases and people thinking that they need to do the same to keep up, to be in the same kind of status, I think.
I mean, that's something that is arguably an absolutely lousy idea, isn't it? The keeping up with the Joneses thing, or the having an ice cream because everybody else has got an ice cream kind of a thing. I mean, it kind of smacks of entitlement and also kind of lack of grasp on your personal finances. I mean, if you can afford to buy your whole family ice creams at £5 a shot, then absolutely that's good for you. But if you can't, don't, right?
Well, it's very easy to say that, I guess, but when you've got your child screaming at you in the middle of a packed beach that he wants his ice cream, then that pressure can push some parents to just cave. And every parent wants to do best for their child, so if they feel like they're shortchanging their child, it's very easy to fall into that trap of overspending. I think there's legitimate reasons why people may feel like they have to. I agree that it's not necessarily the most sensible thing to be doing with your cash, but I can certainly understand the impulse.
Right, so tell me about then financial education. What are the sorts of things that people need to be taught about finances?
To be honest, it's amazing how little we get. So schools have some requirement to teach about finance, but typically it's about taxation and those kind of things. We run several courses with young people. So, for example, I run one called The Money House, and we have topics ranging from benefit entitlement to paying your bills on time, budgeting, how to avoid debt, if you have to borrow, where are the safest places. All these things are just good things to know, whether you're 16 or 60, if I'm totally honest.
And what about the idea of being taught at school? Because some people say they just wish they'd been taught to balance the books, to work out just their personal finances at school, and it's a great big gap in our education. We're taught all sorts of other stuff, but not that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about students going to university, and these guys are leaving education with very little information about how to manage finance, and then sent to university, sometimes going to a different city and having to manage finance for the first time while also learning a new subject. It's very, very tricky. And MyBnk believes that we want a nation of young people who are financially capable and confident in how they deal with their finance. And we think the more we can get schools to help in that mission, the further we go. And actually, we work in schools from the age of 7 years old to start building those habits really early on.
All right. Well, thanks very much indeed, Nick Smith-Patel there. Let's go to